Welcome to Quest for Wellbeing. In the first of this two-part series, we explore the safety of blood transfusions. In the second video, we will examine the alternatives to transfusions. Join us as we embark on this very insightful journey. Before undergoing any significant medical procedure, a thoughtful individual will consider both the potential benefits and risks involved. Take blood transfusions, for instance. They have become a vital component of modern medicine. Many doctors who are deeply committed to their patients' well-being often have little hesitation in administering blood, which is frequently referred to as the gift of life. Millions of people have either donated or received blood. In Canada, during 1986 to 87, 1.3 million individuals donated blood out of a population of 25 million. According to the New York Times, dated February 18, 1990, in the most recent year for which data is available, between 12 million and 14 million units of blood were used in transfusions in the United States alone. In the Cleveland Clinic Journal of Medicine, May 1989, Dr. Louise J. Keating observes that blood has long been regarded with a certain magical quality. For the first 46 years, both doctors and the public believed the blood supply to be safer than it truly was. So what was the situation like back then, and how has it changed since? According to the New York State Journal of Medicine, dated January 15, 1960, even 30 years ago, pathologists and blood bank workers were advised that blood is like dynamite, capable of both tremendous benefit and significant harm. The mortality rate associated with blood transfusions was compared to that of either anesthesia or an appendectomy, with an estimated one death occurring in every 1,000 to 3,000 or possibly 5,000 transfusions. The journal also stated that in the London area it was reported that there was one death for every 13,000 bottles of blood transfused. Have all dangers been entirely removed, ensuring that transfusions are completely safe today? Regrettably, hundreds of thousands of individuals continue to suffer adverse reactions to blood each year, with many of these cases leading to death. While blood-borne diseases are a primary concern, there are additional, less recognized risks that should be considered before exploring this issue further. In the early 20th century, scientists advanced our knowledge of the intricate nature of blood. They discovered that blood comes in different types, and matching the donor's blood with the patient's is crucial for transfusions. If a person with type A blood receives type B blood, it could trigger a serious hemolytic reaction, potentially destroying numerous red blood cells and leading to death. Although blood typing and cross-matching have become standard procedures, mistakes can still happen, and each year, some individuals die from these hemolytic reactions. Scientists are currently investigating how transfused blood affects the body's immune system. But what implications could this have for you or a relative who requires surgery? When doctors perform organ transplants such as heart or liver transplants, the recipient's immune system may detect the foreign tissue and reject it. Interestingly, a blood transfusion is also a form of tissue transplant. Even blood that has been properly cross-matched can still suppress the immune system. During a pathologist's conference, it was noted that hundreds of medical studies have connected blood transfusions to various immunologic responses, as reported in Case Builds Against Transfusions, Medical World News, December 11, 1989. In a study published in the journal Cancer, February 15, 1987, researchers in the Netherlands found that colon cancer patients who received blood transfusions had a significantly lower long-term survival rate. Specifically, the 5-year overall survival rate was 48% for transfused patients, compared to 74% for those who were not transfused. Similarly, physicians at the University of Southern California conducted a follow-up on 100 patients who underwent cancer surgery. They discovered that the recurrence rate for laryngeal cancers was 14% in patients who did not receive blood transfusions, but it jumped to 65% in those who did. For cancers of the oral cavity, pharynx and nose or sinus, the recurrence rate was 31% without transfusions, and 71% with transfusions, according to a report in the Annals of Otology, Rhinology and Laryngology, March 1989. What do these studies imply about transfusions? In his article titled Blood, Transfusions and Surgery for Cancer, Dr. John S. Spratt stated that the cancer surgeon may need to adopt a bloodless approach to surgery, as published in the American Journal of Surgery, September 1986. Another key function of your immune system is to protect against infection. Therefore, it's understandable that some research indicates a higher susceptibility to infections in patients receiving blood transfusions. Dr. P.I. Tata conducted a study on colorectal surgery and found that 25% of patients who received transfusions developed infections, compared to only 4% of those who did not receive transfusions. He observed that blood transfusions were associated with infectious complications, whether administered intra or post-operatively. The risk of post-operative infection increased progressively with the number of units of blood given, as published in the British Journal of Surgery, August 1988. Similarly, at a 1989 meeting of the American Association of Blood Banks, it was reported that 23% of patients who received donor blood during hip replacement surgery developed infections, while those who did not receive blood had no infections. Is blood transfusion free from disease or filled with risks? Blood-borne diseases are a significant concern for both diligent physicians and numerous patients. Which specific disease are we referring to? Frankly, it's impossible to pinpoint just one, as there are indeed several. After covering the more commonly known diseases, the book Techniques of Blood Transfusion, 1982, discusses other transfusion-associated infectious diseases, including syphilis, cytomegalovirus infection, and malaria. It also mentions that several other diseases have been reported as being transmitted through blood transfusions, such as herpes virus infections, infectious mononucleosis, Epstein-Barr virus, toxoplasmosis, trypanosomiasis, African sleeping sickness and Chagas disease, leishmaniasis, brucellosis, undulant fever, typhus, filariasis, measles, salmonellosis, and Colorado tick fever. In fact, the number of these diseases is increasing. You might have seen headlines like Lyme disease from a transfusion. It's unlikely, but experts are wary. But how safe is blood from a donor who tests positive for Lyme disease? As published in the New York Times, July 18, 1989, when a group of health officials was asked whether they would accept such blood, they all said no, even though none suggested discarding blood from these donors. How should the public feel about banked blood that even experts wouldn't accept? Another reason for concern is that blood collected in a region where a particular disease is prevalent may be used in distant areas where neither the public nor medical professionals are aware of the potential danger. With the rise in global travel, including the movement of refugees and immigrants, the risk of an unfamiliar disease being present in a blood product is increasing. Additionally, according to Transfusion Medicine Reviews, January 1989, an infectious disease expert cautioned that the blood supply might need to be screened to prevent the transmission of various conditions previously not thought to be infectious, such as leukemia, lymphoma and dementia, including Alzheimer's disease. Although these risks are unsettling, others have sparked even greater fear. Let's turn our attention to AIDS. AIDS has permanently altered the perspectives of both doctors and patients regarding blood. This shift in thinking is considered beneficial, according to the physicians who convened at the National Institutes of Health for a blood transfusion conference, as published in Washington Post, July 5, 1988. The AIDS, acquired immunodeficiency syndrome pandemic has dramatically highlighted the peril of contracting infectious diseases through blood. With millions now infected, the disease is spreading uncontrollably and has an almost certain fatality rate. IDS is caused by the human immunodeficiency virus, HIV, which can be transmitted through blood. The epidemic of AIDS emerged in 1981, and in the following year, health professionals discovered that the virus could likely be transmitted via blood products. It is now recognized that the blood industry was slow to act despite the availability of tests to detect HIV antibodies in blood. Blood testing for donors started in 1985, but it was not initially used for blood products that were already in stock. After the public was reassured that the blood supply is now safe, it was later discovered that there is a risky window period for AIDS. This means that after someone contracts the virus, it might take months before their antibodies become detectable. As a result, an individual who is unaware of their infection might donate blood that appears negative in tests. Consequently, there have been cases where people developed AIDS after receiving such blood transfusions. The situation grew even more concerning when the New England Journal of Medicine, June 1, 1989, published findings on silent HIV infections. The study revealed that individuals could harbor the AIDS virus for years without detection through existing indirect tests. While some might downplay these as isolated incidents, they demonstrate that the risk of AIDS transmission through blood and its components cannot be entirely eradicated, according to Patient Care, November 30, 1989. The unsettling takeaway is that a negative test result does not guarantee a clean bill of health. The question remains, how many more will contract AIDS through blood? Did you find this quest insightful? Well, if the answer is yes, please let us know by commenting in the comment section below. And please remember to like, share and subscribe to our channel for more insightful videos. Cheers to an enriched life. Thank you for watching.